Democrats have long claimed that all 17 U.S. intel agencies agree that the Russians worked to get President Trump elected. Watch.
This has come from the highest levels of the Russian government, clearly from Putin himself, in an effort, as 17 of our intelligence agencies have confirmed, to influence our election.
17 of our intelligence agencies.
17 intelligence agencies.
17 different United States intelligence agencies.
The intelligence communities have concluded, all 17 of them, that Russia interfered with this election.
Well, after all that, it turns out it wasn't 17. The actual number was 4. Even the New York Times corrected a story this week in which it also falsely claimed that all 17 intel agencies agreed on Russia.
And overnight, the Associated Press did the same thing, issuing a late-night, Friday night correction just before the holiday weekend after it had published 4 separate stories citing that fake news. Here to weigh in is Harvard University law professor Alan Dershowitz. Alan, good to see you this morning. What do you make of all these corrections coming before the holiday weekend?
Well, I'm not surprised because we're going about learning about the Russian connection, if there was any, in the wrong way. We're subjecting it to a criminal investigation behind locked doors in front of a grand jury. Not what we should have been doing. We should have had an independent commission, much like the 911 Commission, to inquire as to what happened, not to suspect crime immediately and to accuse people of crime. We accuse people of crime much too quickly in this country. We ought to find out what happened. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican, a liberal or conservative. If the Russians tried to tamper with the election in any way, we have to know that. And we have to pass laws preventing it for the future. But accusing people of crime and suggesting that there was collaboration without any information is not the right way to get the information that we need to prevent problems in the future.
Right. Where does this Russian collusion story sit right now? Because it seems like this is just another setback. I mean, we've been covering this for months and months and months. There's still no there. How would you describe where we are in this investigation? How people should be thinking about it?
It's very, very clear. We don't know. Why don't we know? Because the investigation is being conducted, A, behind closed doors, and being released selectively by leaks, both things that shouldn't be happening. This should be transparent. It should be out in the open. Every American should know what the status of the investigation is. It's exactly the wrong approach.
But even if it were out in the open, I mean, you look at how the media just handled this story that we are reporting right now. I mean, that's not a good headline to show just 4 U.S. intel agencies support that claim with Russian collusion. So even if it were out in the open, do you believe the media would report it correctly?
Well, at least some media would get it right if it was out in the open, and the individuals would be able to make determinations for themselves.
Right.
By having it leaked selectively, that's where you get this misinformation all the time, because the FBI, and that was true under Comey, is true under the current director, and it's been true for years now, leaks information when it serves the interest of the FBI to leak the information. The director of the FBI didn't have the courage to come forward and say he wants a special counsel appointed. He went behind the back of everybody, went to a Columbia law professor, and laundered the information in order to get the result he wanted to achieve. That's FBI think, and that's not the way things ought to happen in this country.
Alan, I want to get your take on the president's travel ban. We saw that what the Supreme Court did this week and basically allowed it to resume until they can take it up. Now, Democrats are filing a lawsuit in a sort of an effort to halt the travel ban. Can they really go around the Supreme Court in this situation? Give us the legal side of this.
No, the Supreme Court was very clear that they were going to essentially make a distinction between people who have a bona fide connection to the United States and people that don't. Now, they didn't say specifically what they meant by bona fide connection to the United States. So to the extent the lawsuit intends to clarify that, it's a responsible lawsuit. To the extent that it tries to get lower courts to undercut what the Supreme Court said, then it's not an appropriate lawsuit. And I think the courts will slap it down. Look, right now, we have to wait until October, the oral argument, to see whether the Supreme Court actually takes the case. Because remember, the travel ban expires on its own within 90 and 120 days. That's before the Supreme Court would hear argument. But if they do hear argument, I think they will uphold the travel ban as it relates to people who have no connection to the United States and might tamper with it a little bit or tinker with it a little bit when it comes to people who have connections. Obviously, there's this distinction between somebody who has a green card and somebody who's never been to the country and wants to visit.
Well, always a sound voice. Always enjoy having you, Professor Alan Dershowitz. Have a great holiday.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Happy holiday.